Hello and welcome to Illumination Podcast with Nick and Kizma. I'm Nick, and today's episode is called Know Your Supply.
Hello and welcome to Illumination Podcast with Nick and Kizma, bringing you ancient wisdom for modern day success so that you can have the mindset to get your life and business set.
As always, thank you for tuning in. And if you're new to the podcast, take a quick second to hit the subscribe button in iTunes, SoundCloud, or Stitcher. If you want to get the inside info for this and every episode, as well as some free gifts, go to illuminationacademy.net/podcasts. And now let's dive in to get your mindset for your life and business set. Hello there, Kizma.
Well, hello there.
How are we doing today?
Doing well. It was a full day. It's been a full week. Life is good.
Yeah.
Been busy. I know there's a lot going on. I've just been operating with the teachings as best I can.
That's the best we can do. This is episode 200.
Oh, 200. I feel like we should have balloons or something.
We'll celebrate with some vegan burgers after this.
Yeah, episode 200.
Yeah.
That's a lot of podcasts.
It is.
I know
seems like a lot.
people have many, many episodes. And, I was doing some research on podcasts and I was like, oh, this influencer has a podcast that's 5 minutes long. And so I was like puzzled. And then, it gave us a little bit of like freedom to say, okay, we're not going to do a 30, 45-minute podcast. We've been making them a bit shorter. I think people prefer shorter. Yet we do put time and energy and effort behind them. And it amazes me that we're at 200.
200 episodes. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. I love that we kept it going.
Yeah.
Through so many changes in our lives.
And to everyone, I have to say, to everyone who has reached out either via Messenger, on Facebook, on Instagram, email that said, we'll get this message. I love your podcast. You guys are so good. It always comes at the exact time. I just have to share. There's usually a time where I'm like, I'm done. I don't have time for this. And then we get a message or like, no one's listening. Why are we doing this? And then we'll get a message. And I was like, oh, thank you so much. Thank you. Yeah, it's funny.
I really do. They are so much. It really is a lot of fun for us to do. One of my favorite things to do. So knowing your supply.
I grabbed this title because I remember, I like following Deepak Chopra on Instagram. Like I've never done his trainings and courses. But I think he's so cute and he just speaks wisdom, at the right time. I was thinking about this, I'm always working with my students and clients. It's like everything comes from the same supply, the same source. We have access to all that is. And so I was following just like, okay, it was the beginning of coronavirus and I was checking Deepak. I'm like, I wonder what he's saying about it. And the post was so simple. Remember your supply. And I was like, yes, we have to remember, we have to know our supply because it is such a world of senses, right? How often do we think the next thing is going to make us happy? Or if only I could find the right man or the right woman, I'll be happy. Or if I lose 10 pounds, I'll be happy. Now, all of these things bring joy to our lives. We know that. But they don't create the internal happiness that it wears off if we're not doing the internal work.
Yeah.
And it's also around money. Whenever I teach sales, I talk about this is money comes from the same place as everything else. It comes from universe, source, God, spirit, whatever your word is. It comes from there. It comes through people. But we think money comes from people. Money comes from the same source. Love comes from everything comes from the same supply. We have to know our supply. You can use the word God, spirit, energy. I use universe a lot to encompass it all. There we have it, folks. So we better be speaking to the supply and be grateful.
Yeah. Well, inspired by Deepak Chopra. I did read one of his books, Spontaneous Fulfillment of Desire, quite a while.
Nice.
Oh, and Perfect Health too. Yeah.
Was it good?
Both of them were actually really good. Yeah.
Give Deepak a little plug here.
Yeah. Deepak's cool. I like Deepak.
So sweet.
Yeah, this is an important kind of remembrance and a recentering, especially if going back a couple episodes about the decisions and the deciding you're worthy. And I think a lot of times when we're asking something, we feel like we're asking it from a person. And to be fair, a lot of people are like that. Like, you know, you're asking, you're too needy, you're too much demanding, you know, like all these, you know, like they feel, you know, they feel the pull too. But I think that's kind of because of the intention behind it is there's a misunderstanding that it's from, you know, we're asking that of that person, you know, of their soul, so to speak. No, really though, but that's why people, it's like soul sucking work, you know, and it's because you're giving of a place that you should not be giving. But on the flip side of that is also true, is that you're taking from a place that you ought not be taking.
Talk about that more. It sounds intriguing.
Well, it's like taking from people, you know, or asking from people.
Right.
But if you do exactly what you said, which was just recognizing, no, it actually doesn't come from those people. It comes through those people.
Right.
So whatever that thing is, you know, the service, the love, the money, the whatever it is, it comes through those people. You're not taking anything. You're just allowing that into your life.
Right.
You know, and that was one of the big revelations of for myself that took like so much pressure off of the way that I interact with the world. Was like to stop asking things of people. Ask for things from that higher source. Just, you know, be clear and intentional about what you want and what you're creating, and then allow those things to come into your life. And that's a super key part, right? Allow those things.
Allow it. It's great. Dr. Catherine Ponder talks about demand. And I know I've used this in the Prosperity Code and School of Prosperous Thought. Demand what is yours. Demand is not a bad word. It's like, all right, universe, I demand what is mine and I'm going to receive it. So it's like this spiritual demand, and it creates a partnership with source to bring in what it is you desire. And will people show up? Will places show up? Will events show up? Absolutely. There's going to be all these moving planes and parts that we must participate in. But the direct ask, the direct demand is with God.
Only ever. Yeah, I think that's the important part.
Thing.
Yeah, because people feel, and I think this is an interesting thing in relationships when people feel really unfulfilled in different relationships, is they're asking all these things of this other person. Certain ways they need them to be, you know, and wanting them to be different, and they want them to do certain things, which I understand on a certain level. I truly do understand that. And the real challenge with it is that you're setting yourself up to be dependent on that person for that supply.
I get it. But if you were throwing clothes all over the floor, like every single day, I wouldn't be having it. Yeah.
We make agreements.
Making agreements is important.
About things like that. I do understand that. I really do. I'm not saying it's not, but what I am saying is, like, if you were to shift that and say, okay, like this is what I want. Like I want, you know, things to be a certain way.
And go straight to source and ask.
Yeah, then and allow it to show up. Maybe it shows up in the form of a house cleaner.
Yeah.
You know, or a person who comes in daily. You know, a person who comes in to straighten things up. Like, who knows how that shows up?
Right.
But that's the trap, right? Is because we think it's supposed to be a certain way and supposed to come from a certain person, the way that we think. And then it doesn't happen that way. And then we're like, whoa, but it's not working.
Right. The relationship gets really shaky.
Yeah.
And we've done that. That has happened, where we've had Miss Jamie come over and walk Leonard when he was alive and read up for us, Miss Leonard.
Yeah.
So only ask source, universe, God, and then stay receptive. I think we have to stay very present and also flexible in our own way, so that we can, like you said, allow and receive and notice and, not blame, stay off the blame train.
Yeah, absolutely. Like it's like giving yourself the luxury of being who you are and as you are, and giving other people that same latitude.
Right.
Makes just such a world of difference. And I recognize too that I presented that in a kind of extremist way, you know, like only ever. Like, find your way with it. Start exploring it. Start playing with it. Because when you get to the highest truth is that everything comes through everything is already there, and it's coming from, from that source, and it's only ever coming through people and through other channels.
It's the highest truth. And here's a couple of things that our listeners can do if you're interested, everyone, to start to put this in motion. I like to write in the morning what's going to happen. And it's like a mini letter to the universe. This is what I want to accomplish. This is what I'm accomplishing today, or I'm an energetic match to create this or a bigger goal. But it's connecting to source to set that up. And it's a very powerful connection, because once you're like, all right, God, let's do this today, you've got a cool agreement going. And it does go straight to source, which is going to be, if you imagine, it's like your channels even more open. We're all connected, but your channel's really clean and clear so that you can receive intuition, you can receive downloads, guidance. Your energy is going to be clear. You set your day up for abundance, for prosperity. So play around with that. Everyone's like, what do you speak or write in the morning to universe? Set it up. Ask. Go straight. First thing every day.
Yeah. And then allowing yourself to have it.
Allow yourself to have it. Don't repel it. Go back and re-listen to the episode before this of the abundance disruptors. Avoid doubt, avoid the I'm not good enough, avoid the, not enoughness. Really allow. And you'll notice this. Here's the next step you can do is, how do you react when someone gives you something? How do you react when someone says something to you? Do you receive it? Or do you like, oh, no. Do you diminish it? If you diminish it or if you repel it, practice receiving. Even if if any of you have done the Ultimate Life Tool, there's a feature, there's a driver called the humility driver, and it can feel uncomfortable for us to receive compliments and things. However, it is important for you to receive. So practice that. Notice, what do you do when someone's giving you something or telling you something wonderful?
Yeah. It's probably one of the most powerful things that I think anybody can ever work on is receiving or having, actually having. When you look at lottery winners who have suddenly gone from barely any money to millions and millions of dollars, and then 5 years later, they're back where they started or worse. That's a having problem.
It's a having problem. It's a self-worth problem. It's a wealth container problem.
And it's what's funny about it is that nobody thinks that they would have that problem.
I know.
Nobody thinks that they would have that problem, but
it's time and time again. I mean, there's so many studies out there that show that.
Yeah, it's unquestionable. And sure, you could say, well, that's just because, it's a certain profile of person that plays the lottery, XYZ or whatever. I don't know about, I don't think so. I think people have in their lives exactly what they allow themselves to have.
Absolutely. Because we could look at this, if not money, you could look at it as love.
I'm so glad you said that. Yeah. Yeah.
Here, talk.
No, I did. No, I got excited. You're right. Because, okay, so take the money out of it, right? Because we all just think, oh, well, if my bank account were full of millions of dollars, no problem. But love, right? Love is the thing. And it's an intangible.
Right.
And so what's cool about it being intangible is that you can see really clearly that you only ever have as much as you allow yourself to have for yourself and from other people and for other people.
Well, exactly. The love that you give other people, the love you give your partner, your family, and your friends is directly correlated to what you're receiving back.
Yeah. And you can see it so clearly when if somebody's showering you with love and you're just not having it. Right? Maybe you're suspicious. You think they have an agenda. Maybe you don't feel like you deserve it. But you're only ever going to have as much as you will allow in. And then there's the whole misunderstanding that you're needing to get that from that person rather than just having it because it's already there. And that is who you are. We talk about entitlement. It's not that you're entitled to it so much as that's what you are.
That's what you are. It exists within you.
Yeah. So love's such a great example of that.
And remember that whole thing of the world being a mirror. So you have the divine love within you. love comes from the supply of source of God of universe. So you have access to it.
Mm-hmm.
Yet if someone in front of you, if you're feeling not loved or you're not giving love, somewhere there's a mirroring of what's going on inside of you.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so, full circle, again, ask source for the love.
Yeah.
Ask universe for the love. Allow it to come through the people and through yourself.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And let's look back at that through the money,
Mm-hmm.
because so many times it's like maybe you do something nice for somebody and you're not expecting something.
Mm-hmm.
And then they offer you, here, I'd love to pay you for this. And then no.
Yeah.
Right. And we think that is the noble thing to do or the right thing to do.
Right.
Oh, I didn't do it for the money. You're right. You didn't. But that doesn't mean that you can't receive it.
And it doesn't mean that it's
Yeah.
not great for them to give it to you.
That's right.
Mhm.
That's such an important
It's
point.
really important in the prosperity
Yeah.
teachings.
Maybe they need to give that.
Exactly.
But I mean, that's certainly something that I've done
Mhm.
a lot of times. Probably
Mhm.
could still do some work around, to be perfectly honest. But it's such a sneaky little one, and
Mhm.
and it speaks directly to the money. So if you don't think that like, oh well, if I won the lottery and I had millions of dollars, I don't have a problem having that. But if you do in those small ways,
Yes,
you
do.
probably do.
Exactly.
Yeah. So working on that is kind of a big deal.
So your having level will increase as you further understand, really understand, and go deep with knowing your supply. It's such a beautiful connection when you can spend time every day to connect, again, whether it's God, universe, spirit, source, energy, and receive what is divinely yours, because you're a human being and there's always a way. It's back to the decision to receive. Of course, we've got to take action. Of course, we've got to do things to, have it materialize. But man, when you go straight to source, it's all going to come in faster.
Yeah. Think about it like an old school radio. Okay. So,
Mhm.
you got your old
Mhm.
radio in your car. I think our audience will remember this,
Yeah.
with the dials. It wasn't
Right,
digital.
the dials.
Remember that?
Mhm.
And so you're driving around and it's like it gets knocked around and the
Mhm.
radio can kind of fall out of
Mhm.
tune, And so the world's a little bit like that. And the things that happen and it's constantly changing and it kind of detunes us
Mhm.
from the thing that we really want and the true source of that.
Right.
And so that time that you're talking about is your way to just dial it in and retune back to that frequency. Like it's a great example because it's a frequency. You're
Yeah.
tuning into a frequency.
Totally.
Yeah.
So know your supply, everyone. Remember your supply. Talk to your supply. Give gratitude to your supply, and play around with it.
Yeah. Have fun with it. Allow
fun.
yourself to have it.
Allow yourself to have it. It's a big allowing thing. If there's anything we can do for you, please email hello@illuminationpodcast.com. As well, if you have a friend or relative, someone that you think would enjoy this episode, please share it, whether it's on social or pass them the link. We so appreciate your support.
Namaste.
Peace. Hey, thanks for jamming with us today. And if you enjoy Illumination Podcast, please go ahead and share it with someone you love. Give us a rating, review, download our podcast. And remember, you can find us at illuminationacademy.net/podcasts. Talk to you soon. Namaste.